This week we've been talking about dependence. And I think so often when we think about the word dependence, we think of it in the way of being stuck, being controlled, managed, being told what to do. And while that is one piece of dependence, there are other sides to dependence that you might want to consider. Today, we're going to talk about dependence, the benefits of it, and more on this episode of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Oh, I got it right that time.
That was well done. Nice. Good morning. How are you today?
Memory. Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well.
We are recording this, so it's the third day in the row that I've worn the same shirt. I'm not sleeping in the office like some people might think. We've got some things going on. Tom's a busy guy, and so we recorded today's episode, and that means that we will still read every comment and respond to them. So don't be afraid to comment. And if you're watching this, you may very well see me doing some commenting along the way, because I'm going to try something a little different just for giggles and see if it generates whatever it generates. Just something that popped into my head. So
is that going to change the way you do the show, knowing that you're going to comment on it?
No.
Okay.
Nope. I'm actually thinking about how I'm going to market what I'm doing to people today so that they actually want to watch it tomorrow. See? And the best part is the comments will remain there.
Sure.
So
will you do it intentionally? Do things intentionally today so that it creates different content for your comments?
I don't know.
Did you consider that?
I haven't, but I should.
Takes a little spur of the moment out of it, I think.
Yeah. But I also don't want to overthink it. Because years ago, I worked at an insurance newspaper. I'll tell a story. And the Obamacare was being approved, or they were debating Obamacare. And I was watching the hearings on TV because I had to write about it. And I was also tweeting. And tweeting wasn't really that popular then. But I was tweeting in real time about it. And it generated all kinds of interest. It was really, and some of it was funny, some of it was serious, some of it was policy. I knew the issue really well. So if a member of Congress said something that was not true, I could verify and put the fact check right there. So it's kind of fun. I'm not going to fact check us because, of course, you and I don't make any mistakes ever. Oh, there's a mistake. I'll have to mark that.
What if you... Could you do this? Record yourself tweeting like you did in that when you were watching the hearing. So imagine that our show is the hearings and you are going to tweet about our show live. I guess that's kind of like commenting.
Yeah. I think the comments they'll go, well, I don't know. I guess I'll have to pick a platform. I'm thinking Facebook, and I'll do it in our Ring of Renegades group. So if you're not a member of the Ring of Renegades, there's the reason to join. Tomorrow you can see the real live comments as we go.
Yes. Join us in our Ring of Renegades Facebook group. You won't want to miss Bob commenting on himself.
You will not want to miss.
Fair enough. All right. So as we do every morning before we get to our topic, we're going to kick the show off with our celebrations. What are you celebrating today, Bob? I'm
going to celebrate the fact that I came up with a pretty crazy idea and you didn't immediately go, that's crazy idea. What are you thinking? But you've actually thought about it and tried to add to it and shift it and make it an even better idea. And we don't always do that. So I celebrate the fact that you are open to things that may not have been on the normal path. And I still remember when I kind of had to convince you a little bit about this broadcast thing that day. And it's like you're doing these Facebook Lives, Tom. It's not any different. Just going to do it for 2 weeks and then COVID will be gone and we'll be back to our lives.
How'd that work out for us?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
Something like that.
I'm not sure you thought COVID was going away in 2 weeks.
I didn't really think about it, but I didn't think that we'd be dealing with it for 2 years. Plus, and now there's that new variant that they're saying is really transmittable. Yeah.
Interesting. We'll see. We shall see. I'm going to celebrate that we survived a very hot day in Delaware. Again, we're recording this, so my understanding is it's supposed to be hot on Tuesday, and we'll be out in the sun all day, myself and the other officials who are working this tournament. And so I am going to, in advance, celebrate that we survived a hot day on the field and looking forward to another great day today.
How hot is it?
They're saying 91.
But
this facility,
on turf, you're on AstroTurf, so that
we're on AstroTurf with not a lot of
10,
shade.
15 degrees.
Yeah, at least. The longer it
like,
stays
can
hot,
you feel it? If you literally go,
absolutely.
Okay, because it just retains the heat.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I've only been on AstroTurf a handful of times, and never in the summer, so I don't.
It's no reason.
I'm not the high school athlete that you thought I was.
Okay.
But you've seen me try to dunk a basketball, so.
I have seen you try to dunk a basketball. Virtually. That might have been a green screen, and it might have all been made up. Who knows? All right. So let's dive into our topic. And as we go through this topic, we'll share our thoughts and ideas. We welcome yours as well. And at the end of the show, we'll provide our one thing, our today's antidote, which we welcome you to share as well. So, Bob, as we talk about dependence and the benefits of it, what are some of your thoughts around that?
I think one of the things we haven't talked about that I wanted to make sure we covered a little bit and may take us down a rabbit hole is one of the real benefits of dependence is that we can be dependent more on our own thoughts and ideas. We can validate them. We can say, you know what? It's okay that I think this way. It's okay that I'm a renegade. It's okay that I'm carving my own path. And that's something you and I have really tried to help articulate all through this is, it's okay if you're doing it your way. And that's not the way anyone else ever did it, because guess what? We're all doing things our own way. You and I are doing this broadcast our own way. We could get a really expensive consultant to come in and tell us exactly what to do. And yeah, we might do it, or we might go, yeah, you know what? I'd rather do it our way. And I think that freedom, that dependence on our own ideas, like there wasn't a discussion 5 minutes ago about, well, are people going to really at 7 a.m. are they going to want to read more comments? No one likes to read anymore. But just try it. I mean, if it draws interest tomorrow, I'd record an episode every week and do it. And I think being more dependent on, hey, had this idea and we're thinking through it and we're going to figure out what it means and where it plays is really a huge benefit that we don't think about. We think about dependence as on other people, but I see dependence also as we're more dependent on ourselves. We're more trusting of ourselves. We're willing to say, you know what, I'm going to do this thing because it brings me joy. It's something I know the world needs, and I'm going to figure it out as I go. And and I know we both coach people who are like, I got this thing. I really want to do it. It's not going the way I wanted it to go. Help me get there. And it's not that you and I tell them what to do. It's just we help them understand how to get free of the limitations that most of the time we're imposing on ourselves because we're afraid to depend on ourselves, because we think we don't have that, we don't know enough to be able to make those decisions. And then the other side of the coin is, if we're bringing in the feedback from other people, as we're more independent, then bringing in that feedback from other people, that's where the dependence is valuable. But it's not that they're controlling you. It's that they're giving you feedback that you are using to figure out what you want to do. Did I make any sense at all in all that?
Sure. Yeah, you added value.
You could have said no. I mean, I will be, I can correct it tomorrow or today when I
I think that would be passing a judgment on your value. And does it
Okay.
really, I mean, someone out there might be saying, wow, that was crystal clear. I completely understand. Others might be like, not sure I follow that. Maybe I need to re-listen to it.
Okay.
Again, it's all a part of, how do we figure out how to move forward? And, it's funny because as I was thinking about this this morning, or as we were preparing for this, I was thinking about how different are the benefits versus why it matters. Because we talked about that yesterday. And so that might be a good episode for people to go back and listen to, is why dependence matters. And I think really, if I want to get down to the crux of dependence and the benefits, I think that it allows us to find more clarity around what is real for us. Because if we can feel like, well, I'm not dependent on people's feedback, I'm just going to do what I want to do, I'm independent. Okay. What's the likelihood that you're going to grow or change?
Right.
Or that you're truly going to find new ways to take your next step? And so I think that the benefit of dependence is that we value all of that information that we receive, everything that we receive, and then have the ability to choose what to do next. It's like we are dependent on that feedback that then allows us to be independent to choose what are we going to do next. And I think if we had no feedback, if we were completely independent from any of that, any of other people's value, how would we know what to do next? We'd just keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Not really necessarily independent. And, it's funny, I guess I had never really thought about it that way, is that our independence is truly, I'm sure we could have it without the dependency that we are a part of as well. I didn't really say that the way I wanted to say it, but I
Even
think
the
that
word independent has the word dependent in it.
Yes. Really? Interesting.
But think about it. That's what you're saying, right? You can't have
Yes.
independence without dependence.
Correct. And you can't really have dependence, I guess, without some independence. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't go the other way. That's interesting. I have to think more about that. So I feel like the real benefit of dependence is that we gain from others, and that can have a huge impact on us. And I think so often we forget that because we consider dependence a control, that someone is telling us what we have to do and then we have to do it. We don't have to. We can choose differently. There will be different outcomes based on that. And yet that dependency provides us with something to gauge and measure what's real for us. If you're dependent on a boss who keeps telling you things that you don't want to do, like to do, don't believe in, it's a great reason for you to then consider independence. And what does that look like in that case? If you just choose to be like, I don't have any choice in the matter, now you've given up control of the ability for you to make your own choice, because you feel like that person is solely in charge of what you're going to do. And so you stop taking the value of what they have to offer and having that impact what's real for you, and then what's real for you changes. Otherwise, you're just stuck in staying in the same reality, allowing someone else to just control what it is you're doing. What do you think about that?
I like it. It's heavy. I'm still processing. You threw a lot at us.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, I think, this whole idea, because I think one of the challenges is we see dependence as something holding us back.
Right.
Rather than something that is actually allowing us to move forward differently.
I think that's my one thing in terms of the benefits.
Okay.
No, I'm changing it.
All right. Well, I don't think you'd shared it yet. So.
Oh, I didn't? Okay. I had something
What's your one thing
to say, but I like what you just said. That's good. I can't remember what it was, though. I'm totally blanking. But what did you just say?
Well, what I was sharing, I think, was that that being dependent on others, we're depending on them for them to share their value. If no one ever shares any value, then we're all truly independent and no one grows.
Right.
We are dependent on others sharing their value, their feedback, their information, their experience, their perspective, all of what's real for them. That allows us then to have more information, more knowledge, more experience, more perspective to choose what becomes real for us, which allows us to then become independent. And
Sure.
so as long as we are not just taking what they're saying and then just redoing it, well, now we have no independence. We are solely dependent on what someone else tells us.
Yep.
And then that's what we're going to do. When we are allowed to,
or that's what we're going to think.
Or think, correct.
You're not successful. You're not successful. You're not successful. You're not doing it the right way. You're not making enough money. You don't have the right customers.
Or you've got all the right customers. You don't need to do anything differently. You've got all the money you could ever use. You're doing it exactly the right way. And again, many of those words in there are words that I would choose not to use.
Yeah.
And I think that's when we take that as our truth, when we take that as real for us, we don't. When we take it as what's real for someone else and value that, and then say, how does that impact what's real for me, so that what's real for me is no longer exactly the same as it was before. Now I'm moving forward, or I'm moving at least. So I guess that's my one thing, is that the benefits is it allows us to grow. As long as we choose that it is not the truth, it is not right or wrong, because when we do that, we stop letting it impact us. We just close ourselves off to whatever they're saying is that's wrong. So I'm not going to even consider that it might have impact on what's real for me. I'm just going to ignore it. I think when we say that's what's real for them, it allows us, when we become dependent on that feedback, it allows us to then choose. Okay, how do I take that and figure out what to do with it as it impacts me?
You need to wrap this up, Tom, because I know you have something coming up real soon.
I do. Yes, I do. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us today. If you have one thing you'd like to share, please feel free to share it. You can also go in the comments. You can also go into our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, because we're having this discussion all week long. And we know that if you add value to it, it'll benefit someone else. Help them figure out for their own selves what their next step is with your help. So we look forward to seeing you inside our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, or we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time, for our next episode of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you. That's all we need.
Plain and simple.
Yep.
Okay. All right, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.